Standing under the vast dome of the night sky, it's easy to feel small, just one person in an endless universe. But what if I told you that thousands of years ago, ancient cultures didn't just gaze at the stars in wonder? They built precise, monumental structures to track celestial events so complex, even our modern science struggles to unravel their full significance. These weren't just random piles of stone or simple markers. They were sophisticated observatories, meticulously aligned with cosmic phenomena we're only beginning to comprehend. Across continents and civilizations, from the windswept plains of Europe to the dense jungles of Central America, our ancestors left behind clues: 29 prehistoric observatories that whisper secrets about humanity's forgotten relationship with the cosmos. Think about the sheer ambition of these ancient builders. Without telescopes, without written records, without any of the technology we take for granted, they mapped the movements of the sun, moon, and stars with jaw-dropping accuracy. Some of these sites predict eclipses down to the minute. Others mark the solstices with laser-like precision, casting shadows that align perfectly with hidden chambers or carved symbols. How did they do it? What drove them to invest generations of labor into these celestial calendars? The answer might lie in something deeper than mere survival, a connection to the universe so profound it shaped their entire understanding of time, agriculture, and even spirituality. This journey isn't just about stones and stars. It's about rediscovering a lost chapter of human ingenuity, one that challenges everything we assume about so-called primitive societies. As we explore these 29 ancient observatories, you'll see how their builders encoded knowledge of cosmic cycles into the very landscape, turning earth and rock into a permanent dialogue with the heavens. By the time we're done, you'll never look at the night sky the same way again, because these aren't just relics of the past, they're invitations to a mystery that still echoes across the ages, waiting for us to listen. Long before cities rose and civilizations flourished, the first astronomers weren't scholars in ivory towers. They were hunter-gatherers, farmers, and storytellers who looked to the heavens for answers. Imagine standing on the African savanna 30,000 years ago, tracing the same constellations we recognize today, watching the moon's phases dictate the rhythms of migration and harvest. Deep inside caves like Lascaux in France, ancient artists painted celestial symbols alongside animals, suggesting they saw a sacred connection between the stars and the world below. These weren't doodles, they were meticulous records, a prehistoric farmer's almanac etched in ochre and charcoal. But how did these early stargazers turn simple observations into precise science? Take Plier, a stone circle in the Sahara older than Stonehenge by thousands of years. Here, nomadic cattle herders arranged megaliths to align with the summer solstice sunrise and the brightest stars in Orion's belt. When the rains came, the Plier filled with water, reflecting the night sky like a mirror, transforming the desert into an open-air planetarium. Without written language, they encoded their knowledge in the land itself, using stones as permanent calculators to predict the monsoon seasons critical for survival. This wasn't isolated genius. From the Paleolithic caves to the Neolithic fields, our ancestors shared a universal language written in celestial movements. The moon's cycles told them when to plant. The Pleiades rising signaled the start of winter. Even the flickering of certain stars hinted at seasonal shifts. But here's the astonishing part. They didn't just memorize these patterns, they built monuments to amplify them. The same way we use apps to track the weather today, they used standing stones and earthworks as tools, turning abstract observations into tangible guides. What's truly humbling is realizing how much they achieved without modern technology. No telescopes, no paper, no algorithms, just patient generations watching the sky, passing down wisdom through oral traditions and stone alignments. When you stand at a site like Nebra Plier, you're not just looking at rocks, you're witnessing humanity's first steps toward science, the moment we stopped merely surviving and started seeking answers in the cosmos. And that legacy didn't fade, it echoed forward, inspiring every observatory that followed. The precision of these ancient observatories is nothing short of breathtaking. Picture this: massive stones weighing several tons, hauled across miles of rugged terrain, then placed with such exactness that they frame the rising sun on the summer solstice or capture the moon at its farthest northern point. This isn't guesswork, it's deliberate, calculated engineering, ancient blueprints written in rock and aligned with the cosmos. Take Newgrange in Ireland, a 5,000-year-old passage tomb. Once a year, at the winter solstice, a narrow beam of sunlight pierces through a perfectly positioned roof box, flooding the inner chamber with golden light for exactly 17 minutes. That's not a happy accident. It's a feat of astronomical observation so precise it rivals modern instruments. But why go to such lengths? For some cultures, these alignments were survival. The solstices marked planting and harvest seasons, and predicting them meant the difference between feast and famine. The Maya, for instance, built El Caracol, a spiral observatory in Chichen Itza specifically to track Venus. Its windows align with the planet's most extreme positions in the sky, which the Maya tied to warfare and royalty. Venus wasn't just a bright dot to them, it was a divine omen, a celestial clock governing their rituals and battles. Yet other sites hint at something deeper than practicality. The Great Pyramid of Giza's shafts align with Orion's belt and the pole star, mirroring the ancient Egyptians' belief in a cosmic afterlife. The Hopewell earthworks in Ohio form geometric shapes that sync with the moon's 18.6-year cycle, a pattern so subtle, modern archaeologists didn't recognize it until the 1970s. These weren't just calendars, they were sacred maps linking earth to sky, mortal to divine. What's truly unsettling is how these cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, arrived at similar conclusions. The sun dagger at Chaco Canyon in New Mexico strikes a spiral petroglyph at noon on the summer solstice, much like the sunlight at Newgrange. Did they share knowledge, or was the sky itself their universal teacher? One theory suggests that prolonged observation, centuries of watching the same stars rise and set, revealed patterns we've since forgotten. Another whispers of lost civilizations, older than recorded history, who mastered celestial mechanics long before Babylon or Greece. The most tantalizing clue lies in the precession of the equinoxes, a 26,000-year wobble in Earth's axis. Most ancient cultures couldn't have observed a full cycle, yet some monuments, like Angkor Wat's temples, encode this slow dance of the stars. How did they inherit knowledge from an even older source, or did they possess a science we're only now rediscovering? Every aligned stone is a question carved in granite, daring us to rethink what we know about the past. Perhaps the answer isn't either practical or spiritual, but both. These observatories were bridges between worlds where science and sacredness intertwined. To track the stars was to commune with gods, to measure time was to touch eternity. And that's the real mystery, not just how they built these structures, but why they felt the heavens demanded such reverence. Maybe they saw something we've lost, a universe alive with meaning, where every sunrise was a covenant and every eclipse a message. Stonehenge stands as a silent giant on the Salisbury Plain, its towering trilithons casting long shadows that have puzzled humanity for millennia. More than just a circle of stones, it's a celestial timekeeper, a prehistoric observatory built with such precision that its alignments with the summer and winter solstices are still accurate to this day. When the sun rises over the heel stone on the summer solstice, its light pours directly into the heart of the monument, a spectacle that draws thousands of modern pilgrims, just as it likely did for ancient worshippers. But Stonehenge's secrets run deeper than solstices. Some researchers argue its Aubrey holes, a ring of 56 pits encircling the stones, were used to predict eclipses by moving markers in a complex pattern. If true, this would make Stonehenge one of the earliest known astronomical computers, a Stone Age calculator hidden in plain sight. Then there's the mystery of the bluestones, smaller but no less significant rocks hauled all the way from the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 150 miles away. Why transport these particular stones across such grueling distances? Geologists found they possess unique acoustic properties when struck. They produce a resonant, almost musical tone. Could sound have played a role in ancient rituals, turning Stonehenge into a giant instrument for celestial harmony? Or were the blue stones chosen for their spiritual significance, believed to hold healing powers by the communities that carried them? The builders left no written records, but their ambition speaks volumes. Constructed in phases over more than 1,000 years, Stonehenge evolved alongside the astronomical knowledge of its creators. Early timber posts gave way to massive sarsen stones, each weighing up to 30 tons, dragged and raised with a sophistication that defies the era's technology. The lintels perched atop the uprights are carved with subtle curves, making them appear straight when viewed from below, an optical refinement found in Greek architecture 2,000 years later. This wasn't just stacking rocks, it was engineering with an artist's eye and a scientist's precision. What's often overlooked is the surrounding landscape. Stonehenge isn't isolated. It's part of a vast ceremonial complex with nearby mounds, processional avenues, and the Durrington Walls henge, where evidence of massive feasts suggests gatherings of thousands. The cursus, a 2-mile-long earthwork, aligns with the sunrise on the equinoxes, hinting at a broader cosmic design. Together, these features paint a picture of a place where astronomy, spirituality, and community intertwined, a sacred arena where the heavens met the earth. Theories about Stonehenge's purpose are as varied as the stars it tracks. Was it a temple for sun worship, a burial site for elite ancestors, a healing center, as the blue stone's alleged properties suggest? Or perhaps all these things at different times? What's undeniable is its enduring power. Even now, as lasers and 3D scans reveal hidden carvings and construction techniques, Stonehenge refuses to give up all its secrets. It remains a riddle wrapped in stone, a testament to a time when humans looked to the sky not just for guidance, but for meaning, and built monuments to last until the stars themselves shifted. Buried beneath the rolling green hills of Ireland's Boyne Valley, Newgrange waits like a silent sentinel of the ancient world. Built over 5,000 years ago, older than both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids, this massive circular mound hides a secret that reveals itself just once a year. At dawn on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, a narrow beam of sunlight slips through a perfectly aligned roof box above the entrance. For 17 breathtaking minutes, the golden light creeps down a 60-foot-long passageway, finally flooding the inner chamber with an otherworldly glow. This isn't just poetic coincidence, it's a feat of engineering so precise. It proves the Neolithic builders didn't just observe the sun, they mastered its movements with mathematical brilliance. But Newgrange isn't just a solar calendar. Step inside, and you're surrounded by intricate spiral carvings, swirling patterns etched into stone that seem to pulse with hidden meaning. Some researchers believe these symbols map celestial events, tracing the paths of the sun, moon, or even comets. Others argue they're portals to the spirit world, connecting the dead with the cyclical rebirth of light. The truth may lie somewhere in between. Human remains found in the chamber suggest it was a tomb, yet the solstice alignment hints at something grander, a temple where the living communed with ancestors and gods through the medium of sunlight. What's truly staggering is the scale of their ambition. The mound spans an acre, its white quartz facade glittering like a beacon in the landscape. The passage roof, built with overlapping slabs, has kept the inner chamber dry for millennia, a waterproofing technique that outlasts modern buildings. And those solstice calculations, they account for the slow wobble of Earth's axis, meaning the alignment still holds true today despite 5,000 years of celestial drift. How did a society without writing, without metal tools, achieve such accuracy? One theory points to the nearby River Boyne, whose bends mirror the solstice sunrise path, offering a natural teaching tool. Another suggests generations of sky watchers passed down knowledge through oral tradition, refining their understanding over centuries. The most haunting question isn't how they built it, but why. In a world where survival was uncertain, why dedicate decades of labor to a structure that works just one day a year? Perhaps the answer lies in the solstice itself, the moment when the sun, seemingly defeated by darkness, begins its triumphant return. For an agricultural society, this wasn't just astronomy, it was hope carved in stone. The dead resting inside Newgrange weren't just buried, they were placed in the path of reborn light, as if the builders believed the sun's energy could carry their spirits into the next world. Today, Newgrange's winter solstice draws modern seekers just as it once drew ancient priests. The lucky few who witness the event describe it as transcendent, a bridge across time. Yet for all we've decoded, the mound keeps its deepest secrets. Those spirals on the walls, no one's cracked their full meaning. The precise alignment with other nearby tombs, forming a larger cosmic pattern. Still debated, what's clear is that Newgrange wasn't built in isolation. It's part of a sacred landscape, a Neolithic cathedral complex where earth and sky were woven together in a tapestry of stone and light. And that's the real wonder, not just the precision but the vision. These builders didn't just track the sun, they worshipped its journey, embedding their faith into the very bones of the land. High on a barren ridge in Peru's coastal desert, 13 stone towers stand like jagged teeth against the sky. This is Chankillo, a 2,300-year-old solar observatory so precise it could rival modern instruments. Unlike the circular designs of Stonehenge or Newgrange, Chankillo's genius lies in its linear arrangement. The towers stretch across a low hill, forming an artificial horizon that captures the sun's entire yearly journey. From a nearby observation platform, ancient watchers could track the sunrise as it shifted from tower to tower, marking dates with an accuracy of just 2 or 3 days. Imagine standing there at dawn, watching the sun rise directly over the leftmost tower at the December solstice, then slowly march across the sky until it crowned the rightmost tower at the June solstice, a celestial clock carved into the landscape. But why go to such lengths in a place where the sun's path barely changes season to season? The answer lies in the lifeblood of the desert, water. The nearby Chasma River Valley was an agricultural hub, and knowing exactly when to plant and harvest meant survival. The towers didn't just track seasons, they likely dictated ceremonial calendars, signaling when to honor solar deities or initiate rites of renewal. Archaeologists found evidence of feasting and offerings near the observation points, suggesting these alignments weren't just practical, they were sacred. The towers themselves may have been more than markers. Their uneven heights and staircases hint at ritual use, as if each step toward the sun held spiritual significance. What's truly revolutionary about Chankillo is how it challenges assumptions about pre-Columbian astronomy. Long before the Inca built their sun temples, this culture, possibly the Casma Sechan people, engineered a solar calendar that required no moving parts. Unlike European megaliths, which often focus on solstices, Chankillo tracks the sun's daily position year-round, offering a granular view of time. The Western observation point even aligns with the June solstice sunset, proving they monitored both sunrise and sunset with equal precision. This wasn't just stargazing, it was a holistic science blending agriculture, architecture, and cosmology into a single system. The real mystery: Chankillo was abandoned centuries before the Inca rose to power. Why did such advanced knowledge vanish? Some speculate climate shifts dried up the Casma River, forcing migration. Others believe conquest erased the culture that built it. But the towers remain, whispering secrets across millennia. Modern experiments confirm their accuracy. When researchers stood at the ancient observation points, the sun aligned with the towers within a day or two of key solar events. That's no accident. It's proof that long before telescopes or written records, humanity's hunger to understand the cosmos found expression in stone and shadow. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of Chankillo. Brilliance isn't measured by technology, but by the patience to watch the sky and the wisdom to build what it teaches. Hidden beneath the windswept hills of southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe shatters everything we thought we knew about early human civilization. This sprawling complex of carved stone circles isn't just old, it's ancient beyond comprehension, dating back 12,000 years to a time when humanity was still nomadic, hunting wild game and gathering berries. Yet here, millennia before the pyramids or Stonehenge, people hauled 20-ton limestone pillars into precise arrangements, etching them with vivid depictions of scorpions, foxes, and birds. But look closer and you'll notice something extraordinary. Among these animal carvings are strange, abstract symbols, crescents, disks, and clusters of dots that some researchers believe map the night sky. Could these be the earliest known records of constellations, or even a comet striking Earth? The sheer scale of Göbekli Tepe defies logic. Built by hunter-gatherers who hadn't yet invented pottery or agriculture, its construction would have required hundreds of workers laboring for decades, a societal effort previously thought impossible for pre-farming cultures. The site's circular enclosures, each centered by massive T-shaped pillars, seem deliberately aligned with celestial events. One pillar, dubbed the vulture stone, shows a vulture with outstretched wings beneath a scorpion, while a crescent shape hovers nearby. Archaeoastronomers suggest this might depict the constellation Scorpio alongside a crescent moon, or perhaps a comet's trajectory. Even more startling, sediment analysis reveals a layer of comet fragments dating to around 10,900 BC, right when Göbekli Tepe's builders might have witnessed a catastrophic impact. Were they recording a real cosmic disaster that reshaped their world? What's truly revolutionary about this site isn't just its age, but what it implies about human ingenuity. These weren't farmers with surplus time. They were mobile people who chose to invest unimaginable effort into a structure with no obvious survival purpose. Unless, of course, the sky was their survival guide. Some researchers propose the enclosures functioned as a primitive calendar, tracking star cycles to time migrations or rituals. Others argue the animal carvings symbolize zodiac-like star groups, turning each pillar into a celestial marker. The T-shaped pillars themselves might represent stylized humans, their flat tops mirroring the horizon, silent watchers gazing eternally at the heavens. The implications are staggering. If Göbekli Tepe's carvings do encode astronomical knowledge, it means hunter-gatherers were sophisticated sky watchers long before cities or writing existed. This wasn't just stargazing, it was a systematic study of the cosmos etched in stone to outlast generations. And that raises a haunting question: did astronomy precede agriculture? Some theorists suggest gatherings to observe the sky may have spurred the first permanent settlements, making Göbekli Tepe not just a temple, but the birthplace of civilization itself. Yet for all its wonders, the site guards its secrets fiercely. Later builders deliberately buried the entire complex around 8000 BC, as if sealing away sacred knowledge. Today, only a fraction has been excavated, leaving us to wonder what other cosmic clues lie hidden beneath the soil. One thing is certain: Göbekli Tepe forces us to rewrite history. It's not just the world's oldest temple, it's a time capsule from an age when humanity first looked up and saw not just stars, but meaning. And in those carved pillars, we catch a glimpse of the moment our ancestors began turning the chaos of the cosmos into something they could understand. Beneath the dirt of a German forest in 1999, two treasure hunters stumbled upon a find that would rewrite history: a bronze disc no bigger than a dinner plate, studded with gold symbols that shimmered like celestial bodies against a deep blue-green patina. This is the Nebra Sky Disk, a 3,600-year-old artifact that holds the title of the oldest known concrete depiction of the cosmos. Unlike carvings or standing stones, this portable masterpiece doesn't just hint at ancient astronomy, it shows it: a golden crescent moon, a cluster of 7 stars representing the Pleiades, a radiant sun, or perhaps a full moon, flanked by 2 graceful arcs that precisely mark the solstices. But here's what's truly astonishing: this wasn't just art. The disk's design corresponds to actual astronomical alignments, suggesting its creators didn't merely admire the sky, they studied it with mathematical precision. The disk's sophistication becomes even clearer when you consider its context. Found near the summit of Mittelberg Mountain, a site with clear sightlines to the Brocken Peak where the sun sets on the solstice behind a distinctive notch, the disk seems tied to a real-world observatory. Archaeologists believe it was used alongside the horizon, held at specific angles to predict lunar cycles and solar events. The gold arcs along its edges span exactly 82 degrees, matching the angle between sunset positions at winter and summer solstices in that region. This level of accuracy implies generations of accumulated knowledge, passed down and refined until it could be immortalized in metal. Yet the Nebra Sky Disk isn't just a tool, it's a window into Bronze Age spirituality. The addition of a sun boat motif along the bottom edge, later alteration, hints at a belief that the sun traveled across the heavens by vessel, a myth found in cultures from Egypt to Scandinavia. Some researchers argue the disk's layers of modifications reflect evolving rituals, where astronomy and religion were inseparable. Imagine a shaman holding it aloft during ceremonies, its gold symbols catching firelight as they mirrored the constellations above. To these ancient people, the sky wasn't just a clock, it was a living tapestry of gods and omens. What's equally fascinating is how the disk challenges assumptions about prehistoric Europe. Long dismissed as a cultural backwater compared to Mesopotamia or Egypt, the region's people clearly possessed advanced astronomical knowledge. The disk's materials tell a global story. Its copper came from the Alps, its gold from Cornwall, and its tin essential for bronze, likely from as far away as Turkey. This wasn't the work of isolated villagers, it was a product of trade networks spanning continents, proving ideas moved as freely as goods. The disk's survival is nothing short of miraculous. Buried in a hoard with swords and axes, it was nearly melted down by the looters who found it before archaeologists intervened. Today, it sits in the State Museum of Prehistory in Halle, Germany, protected like the relic it is, a fragile yet enduring testament to humanity's eternal dance with the stars. And perhaps that's its greatest lesson. Our ancestors didn't just observe the cosmos. They sought to hold it in their hands, to weave its mysteries into metal and myth, leaving behind a legacy as luminous as the gold that still gleams on its surface after millennia. Stretching across the windswept coast of Brittany, the Karnak alignments form one of the most bewildering prehistoric landscapes on Earth. More than 3,000 weathered megaliths stand in eerie, regimented rows, some towering twice the height of a person, others worn low by millennia of salt and wind. Unlike the circular arrangements of Stonehenge or Newgrange, these stones march across the land in straight lines, some running uninterrupted for nearly a mile. Local folklore claims they're the remnants of a Roman legion turned to stone by a vengeful wizard, but the truth is far more intriguing. These stones predate Rome by thousands of years, erected by a culture so attuned to the cosmos, they may have used them to track the moon's most subtle dances. Walk among the Karnak alignments, the largest of Karnak's clusters, and you'll notice something peculiar. The stones grow gradually smaller as the rows progress westward, like a stairway leading toward the horizon. Archaeoastronomers have discovered that several key sightlines align with the moon's major standstill, an event that occurs only every 18.6 years when the moon reaches its farthest point from the sun's path. During these rare nights, the moon would have risen or set directly over specific marker stones, turning the entire landscape into a colossal lunar calendar. Imagine the spectacle. Moonlight silvering the granite rose as priests or shamans conducted ceremonies timed to this celestial rhythm. Yet the stone's purpose likely went beyond mere observation. Nearby, the Camarillo alignment points toward a solitary giant menhir that once stood over 60 feet tall, now broken but still hinting at its former grandeur. When researchers mapped its position, they found it marked the equinox sunrise, casting a shadow that bisected the parallel rows at dawn. Even more striking, some smaller outlying stones seem positioned to predict eclipses by triangulating the movements of both sun and moon. This wasn't just monument building, it was a form of sacred geometry where earth and sky converged in a language of stone and shadow. The real mystery lies in the labor. Moving these megaliths required coordinated effort on an almost unimaginable scale, equivalent to constructing a medieval cathedral, but without the benefit of wheels or domesticated animals. Each stone, some weighing over 100 tons, was quarried miles away, then dragged and erected using ropes, ramps, and raw manpower. Why invest such effort? One theory suggests the alignments were pilgrimage sites, where lunar cycles dictated gatherings for trade or marriage alliances. Another points to the dozens of burial mounds dotting the area, proposing the stones guided souls to the afterlife along celestial pathways. What's often overlooked is Karnak's connection to a broader megalithic network. Similar alignments exist across coastal Europe, from Portugal's Almenda's cromlech to Sweden's Ale stones, all roughly contemporaneous. Were these separate cultures stumbling upon the same ideas, or nodes in a lost maritime tradition that shared astronomical knowledge? The answer may lie beneath the waves. Rising sea levels since the Ice Age have submerged what could have been linking coastal sites. Today, the Karnak stones stand silent, their original meanings eroded by time. But on certain mornings, when fog clings to the fields and the first light strikes the granite rows just so, you can almost feel the presence of their builders, people who look to the heavens not just for survival, but for a deeper communion with the forces that govern their world. In their patient arrangement of these stones, they left behind a puzzle that continues to pull at the edges of our understanding, reminding us that some truths are written not in words, but in the patient alignment of rock and sky. Perched nearly 10,000 feet above sea level in Wyoming's Big Horn Mountains, the Medicine Wheel isn't just a stone circle, it's a high-altitude cosmic classroom. 28 spokes radiate from a central cairn, stretching toward the horizon like spokes on a celestial bicycle wheel. At first glance, it might seem like a simple arrangement of rocks, but stand there at dawn on the summer solstice, and the stones reveal their secret. The sunrise aligns perfectly with one spoke, while another points to the spot where the bright star Aldebaran rises just before the sun. This isn't random. It's a meticulously crafted observatory, built by ancestors of the Crow, Shoshone, and other Plains tribes to map the heavens from one of the most remote locations on the continent. What's astonishing is how these alignments served multiple purposes. The solstice sunrise spoke didn't just mark the longest day, it signaled the start of the annual buffalo hunt, when herds were fattest after spring grazing. Aldebaran's alignment, meanwhile, acted as a 4 a.m. alarm clock, its heliacal rising when it first becomes visible after being hidden by the sun's glare, coinciding with key planting rituals. But the wheel's genius doesn't stop there. Another spoke targets the summer rise of Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, whose appearance traditionally signaled the onset of hot, dry weather. For nomadic tribes, these weren't abstract astronomical events. They were survival alerts etched in stone. The medicine wheel's isolation deepens its mystery. Unlike European megaliths often built near settlements, this site sits on a barren, windswept ridge where no one lived. Reaching it requires a grueling hike through thin air, a pilgrimage that suggests its purpose was sacred, not practical. Oral histories tell of vision quests where seekers would fast for days among the stones, awaiting messages from the spirit world. Some elders describe it as a library in the sky, where the positions of certain stars corresponded to moral teachings or clan histories. The central cairn, filled with offerings like tobacco ties and prayer cloths even today, hints at its enduring role as a bridge between Earth and cosmos. Modern researchers have uncovered even more sophistication. The 28 spokes likely mirror the lunar cycle, with each representing one day in the moon's monthly journey. This transforms the wheel into a calendar, tracking not just solar years but the moon's phases critical for timing ceremonies and migrations. Even more intriguing, the wheel's diameter matches measurements found at other Native American sites, suggesting a shared system of astronomical math across vast distances. Yet the greatest lesson of the medicine wheel isn't in its alignments, but in its philosophy. Unlike Western observatories that separate science from spirituality, here the two are inseparable. To track the stars was to commune with ancestors. To mark the solstice was to honor the Creator's rhythms. The stones don't just point to celestial bodies, they embody a worldview where sky and earth are in constant dialogue, where knowledge isn't owned but shared with all who make the journey to listen. Standing there, buffeted by mountain winds, you realize this isn't just an ancient observatory. It's an invitation to look up, to remember, and to witness the universe not as a distant mystery, but as a living teacher. Rising from Malta's rugged cliffs like a time-worn compass, the Mnajdra temples have silently tracked the sun's journey for more than 5,000 years. These honey-colored limestone structures aren't just ancient ruins, they're a Neolithic masterpiece of celestial engineering. On the spring and autumn equinoxes, the first rays of sunlight pierce through the main doorway, striking a precisely carved altar slab deep within the inner chamber. At the summer solstice, the sun's path aligns with the edge of the doorway, casting a razor-thin beam along the temple's central axis. And during the winter solstice, the light enters at a lower angle, illuminating a different set of markers. This isn't guesswork, it's a solar calendar carved in stone, accurate to within minutes, a feat that would challenge modern architects even with laser levels and blueprints. What's truly remarkable is the context. These temples were built by a small island society with no metal tools. no written language, and no contact with the astronomical hubs of Egypt or Mesopotamia. Yet their understanding of solar geometry rivals that of cultures millennia ahead of them. The temple's builders didn't just notice the sun's movements, they encoded them into architecture with near mathematical precision. The southern temple's orientation is offset by half a degree from true east, a deliberate adjustment that accounts for the local horizon's topography, ensuring the equinox sunrise would be perfectly framed. This level of sophistication suggests generations of meticulous observation, with knowledge passed down through oral traditions long lost to time. But why invest such effort in solar alignments on an island where seasons are mild and crops could grow year-round? The answer may lie in the temple's eerie inner chambers. Excavations reveal altars stained with animal sacrifices and niches that once held ceremonial fires. Some researchers believe these rituals weren't just about marking time, they were acts of cosmic reciprocity, ensuring the sun's return and the fertility of the land. The temple's curved walls, resembling the rounded forms of Neolithic goddess figurines found nearby, hint at a deeper connection between the cycles of the sky, the earth, and human life. The real mystery is how these alignments survived Malta's turbulent history. Unlike Stonehenge or Newgrange, Mnadra's temples were buried under rubble for centuries, only rediscovered in the 19th century. Yet when archaeologists cleared the debris, they found the solstice alignment still intact, as if the builders had intended their celestial code to endure across epochs. Modern reconstructions have carefully preserved these alignments, allowing visitors to witness the same solar spectacles that Neolithic priests likely orchestrated. Standing in Mnadra's inner chamber during an equinox sunrise, you can almost feel the weight of that ancient knowledge. The sunlight doesn't just illuminate the altar, it slices through the darkness like a blade, a reminder that these builders saw time not as a straight line, but as a sacred circle. Their temples weren't just buildings, they were bridges between worlds where the sun's light became a living thread connecting heaven, earth, and humanity. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of Mnadra, not just that they could track the sun, but that they believed doing so mattered enough to carve their faith into the very bones of the island. Descending into Malta's Hypogeum is like stepping into the Earth's whispering heart, a maze of shadowy chambers carved 3 stories deep into the limestone. But one room stands apart from all others, the oracle chamber. Here, sound doesn't just echo, it transforms. Speak a word into its curved walls, and your voice lingers, vibrating at a frequency close to 110 Hz, a tone scientists now know can alter brainwave patterns, shifting consciousness toward meditative or trance-like states. This isn't an accident of architecture. The chamber's elliptical shape and precisely angled ceiling were engineered to amplify specific frequencies, turning the very air into an instrument. Imagine standing here 5,000 years ago, surrounded by flickering torchlight, as a priest's chant swelled into a resonant hum that seemed to pulse through your bones. Was this the gateway to divine messages, a tool for communing with ancestors, or something even more extraordinary? The Hypogeum's celestial connections deepen the mystery. Though entirely underground, the complex aligns with solar events. During the summer solstice, sunlight penetrates through an upper corridor, striking a carved niche in the oracle chamber for just minutes before vanishing, a fleeting dance of light in perpetual darkness. Even more intriguing, the chamber's acoustics may have served a dual purpose. Certain frequencies enhance low-light vision, a phenomenon known as the Ganzfeld effect. Could the Hypogeum's builders have used sound to sharpen night vision during subterranean star-gazing rituals? Some researchers speculate that water once pooled in the chamber's floor, reflecting oil lamps to mimic constellations, while resonant tones helped participants see celestial patterns with their eyes closed. What's undeniable is the sophistication behind this subterranean sanctuary. The Hypogeum wasn't just dug, it was sculpted, with chambers mirroring the above-ground temples like Emnagdra, suggesting a cosmic duality. One world for the living under the open sky, another for the dead beneath the earth, both bound by celestial rhythms. Red ochre spirals adorn the walls, echoing the same symbols found in Malta's solar-aligned temples, as if the builders encoded a unified language of earth and sky. The most haunting question isn't how they achieved such precision, but why they buried it. Unlike towering megaliths meant to dominate landscapes, the Hypogeum hides its genius underground, accessible only to initiates. Perhaps the answer lies in its name. Hypogeum means under the earth in Greek. This wasn't just a temple, it was a womb of the underworld where sound and stone conspired to dissolve the boundary between realms. Today, visitors report feeling the vibrations in their chests, a visceral reminder that some knowledge isn't meant to be seen but felt, a truth whispered not in light but in the dark resonance of ancient stone. Carved into the steep green slopes of Oxfordshire's hills, the Uffington White Horse has watched over England's landscape for over 3,000 years. At first glance, this 360-foot-long chalk figure resembles a stylized horse, its sleek, abstract form flowing across the hillside like a single brushstroke frozen in time. But look closer and the mystery deepens. Some scholars argue its elongated body and serpentine neck better match a dragon, a creature woven into local myths of sky battles between celestial forces. Others point to its uncanny alignment with the moon's most dramatic cycles. During major lunar standstills, the moon appears to gallop along the ridge above the horse's back, an eerie synchronization that can't be coincidence. Was this hillside canvas an ancient observatory, a giant chalk prayer to the heavens, or something even more enigmatic? The horse's connection to the cosmos isn't just speculative. From the vantage point of Dragon Hill, a flat-topped mound at the figure's feet, the summer solstice sunrise aligns perfectly with its eye, as if igniting some long, dormant spark. Even more compelling, the troughs that define its outline aren't random. Their angles mirror the moon's extreme rising and setting points during its 18.6-year cycle. This level of precision suggests the creators didn't just admire the moon, they tracked its every wobble and turn, encoding that knowledge into the very shape of the land. Local folklore adds another layer. Legends speak of the horse as a talisman against chaos, its presence ensuring the sun would rise and the seasons would turn. Some tales even describe it as a marker for sky battles, possibly referencing meteor showers or eclipses that early observers interpreted as cosmic warfare. What's truly astonishing is the endurance of this symbol. Unlike stone circles that erode or temples that crumble, the Uffington horse requires constant upkeep, a tradition that's continued unbroken for millennia. Every few years, communities gather to scour the figure, replenishing its chalk to keep it visible from miles away. This isn't just maintenance, it's a ritual, a whispered pact between generations to preserve a conversation with the cosmos. The horse's body, shaped like a crescent when viewed from certain angles, might even represent the moon's phases, transforming the entire hillside into a celestial clock face. Yet the debate over its true meaning rages on. Could it be a territorial marker for Bronze Age tribes, as some archaeologists suggest, a representation of the goddess Epona, worshipped by later Celtic cultures? Or perhaps a guide for travelers, its gleaming form visible under moonlight like a beacon? The most tantalizing theory ties it to the constellation Draco, the dragon whose stars coil around the northern celestial pole. During certain epochs, Draco's shape would have mirrored the horse's sinuous curves, a celestial twin etched into the earth, standing on the ridge at twilight, watching the first stars emerge above the horse's back. It's hard not to feel the weight of that ancient intentionality. This isn't just art, it's a bridge between earth and sky, a testament to humanity's timeless urge to carve meaning into the landscape. Whether horse or dragon, clock or covenant, the Uffington figure remains a riddle wrapped in chalk, one that continues to gallop through time, daring us to decipher its secrets. Hidden among the rolling hills of County Meath, the Loughcrew cairns hold secrets that only reveal themselves when the sun strikes at just the right angle. These ancient passage tombs, older than the pyramids of Egypt, transform into celestial theaters twice a year during the spring and autumn equinoxes. As dawn breaks on these sacred days, sunlight streams through the narrow entrance of Cairn T, the largest tomb in the complex, creeping inch by inch down the stone passageway until it strikes the back wall, a slab known as the Equinox Stone. For 20 mesmerizing minutes, the chamber glows as the light illuminates a series of intricate spiral carvings, bringing them to fiery life before fading away. This isn't just beautiful symbolism, it's a meticulously engineered light show, timed to perfection by Neolithic astronomers who understood the sky's rhythms with spine-tingling accuracy. What makes Loughcrew extraordinary isn't just the alignment, but the storytelling etched into its stones. The Equinox Stone's central spiral isn't alone. It's surrounded by concentric circles, zigzags, and cup marks that some researchers believe map the moon's phases or even predict eclipses. Nearby, a smaller carving resembles a branching tree, possibly representing the Milky Way as ancient cultures saw it, a celestial river flowing across the night sky. These aren't random doodles, they're a visual language, a code left by people who used stone and shadow to teach the movements of the heavens. Step inside Cairn T during the equinox, and you're not just standing in a tomb, you're stepping into a prehistoric planetarium, where rock art becomes a projection of cosmic knowledge. The real wonder lies in how the site's builders adapted to their landscape. Unlike Newgrange, where the solstice alignment was built into the structure, Loughcrew's equinox effect depends on the tomb's position atop Slieve na Caliog, the highest hill in the area. From this vantage point, the horizon meets the sunrise at the perfect angle to trigger the illumination. Even more astonishing, the cairns are arranged in a pattern mirroring the constellation Cassiopeia, as if the entire hillside was designed as a mirror to the stars. This suggests the tombs weren't just passive markers, they were part of an interactive system where initiates might have moved between them during rituals, tracking celestial events like actors in a sacred play. But who were these sky watchers, and why invest such effort in these alignments? One theory points to the tomb's dual role as burial sites and living classrooms. Human remains found inside show signs of ceremonial placement, suggesting the dead played an active role in guiding the living. Perhaps elders used the equinox light to demonstrate astronomical principles, tracing the carvings with their hands as they explained the sun's journey or the moon's dance. The nearby Hag's Chair, a stone throne carved with lunar symbols, hints at a storytelling tradition where knowledge was passed down under the open sky. Today, Loughcrew's magic hasn't faded. Modern visitors who brave the steep climb to the cairns at dawn on the equinox describe the experience as transcendent. The way the light doesn't just hit the stone but seems to awaken it. The spiral, dormant for months, suddenly pulses with energy, as if the ancients left a message that can only be read in those fleeting moments of alignment. And that's the true genius of Loughcrew. It forces us to engage with the sky on its terms, reminding us that some truths aren't written in books, but in the patient dialogue between earth, light, and time. High in the mist-shrouded peaks of the Andes, the Intihuatana stone at Machu Picchu stands as a silent sentinel of celestial wisdom. This polished granite pillar, its name meaning hitching post of the sun, isn't just a ceremonial artifact, it's a precision solar instrument that tracked the changing seasons with uncanny accuracy. During the equinoxes, the sun sits directly above the stone, casting no shadow, a moment when the Inca believed the sun was symbolically tethered to the earth, ensuring its return. At the winter solstice, the shadow stretches to its longest point, marking the sun's rebirth and the gradual lengthening of days. This wasn't just observation, it was a sacred dialogue between stone and sky, where architecture became astronomy. The Inca's mastery of solar alignment becomes even more astonishing when you consider their tools, or lack thereof. Without written records, without glass lenses or metal instruments, they mapped the sun's annual journey using nothing but careful observation and stone. The Intihuatana's four corners align with the cardinal directions, while its slightly tilted surface matches the angle of the southern axis, allowing it to function like a sundial for every season. Nearby buildings feature windows that frame the rising sun on significant dates, transforming the entire citadel into a sprawling celestial calendar. Some researchers believe the stone's irregular shape also served as a three-dimensional map of surrounding sacred mountains, blending terrestrial and cosmic geography into a single sacred object. But why invest such effort in tracking the sun? For the Inca, this was survival. Their empire spanned some of the most extreme elevations on Earth, where growing seasons were short and unpredictable. Knowing exactly when to plant maize or potatoes meant the difference between abundance and starvation. The Intihuatana didn't just mark time, it governed the agricultural cycle, dictating when terraces should be prepared and crops sown. Priests likely used its shadows to announce festivals like Inti Raymi, the sun-worshipping ceremony that still draws thousands to Cusco every June. The stone was more than a tool, it was a covenant with nature, a promise that human activity would move in harmony with celestial rhythms. The real genius lies in how the Inca scaled this knowledge across their empire. From the deserts of Chile to the jungles of Ecuador, they built similar solar markers, each calibrated to local conditions. At the Temple of Coricancha in Cusco, golden discs reflected sunlight onto specific niches during solstices. In the Sacred Valley, pillar pairs on hilltops created solar gates, where the sun would rise between them on key dates. This wasn't isolated genius, it was a systematic science passed down through generations of sky watchers who memorized the heavens with a precision we're only beginning to decode. Perhaps most haunting is what happened when the Spanish conquered Peru. They destroyed many Intihuatana stones, believing them idols, yet Machu Picchu's remained hidden, preserved by the mountain mists. Today, visitors can still stand where Inca priests once stood, watching the solstice shadows creep across stone that has outlasted empires. The Intihuatana doesn't just tell time, it tells a story of human ingenuity, of a civilization that looked to the sky not just to measure days, but to weave their lives into the very fabric of the cosmos. And in its silent, steadfast accuracy, it challenges us to reconsider what primitive really means. At the heart of Chichen Itza, El Castillo Pyramid stands as a stone testament to the Maya's celestial genius, a structure so precisely engineered that it transforms into a cosmic serpent twice a year. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, as the sun dips toward the horizon, shadows ripple down the pyramid's northern staircase, forming a diamond-backed illusion of Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god, slithering from the heavens to earth. This spectacle lasts just minutes, yet its precision is staggering. The play of light and shadow aligns perfectly with the pyramid's 91 steps on each side, plus the shared top platform, totaling 365, one for every day of the solar year. The Maya didn't just build a temple, they encoded their cosmology into geometry, turning stone into a living calendar. But the pyramid's secrets don't end with the equinoxes. Clap your hands at its base and the sound echoes back as the chirp of the sacred Quetzal bird, an acoustic trick engineered into the staircase's angles. The 4 stairways, each facing a cardinal direction, align with the sun's positions during the solstices, while the corners cast shadows that mark the agricultural seasons. Some researchers believe the pyramid's 9 terraces represent the underworld's 9 levels in Maya mythology, with the serpent's descent symbolizing Kukulkan's journey between realms. This wasn't just architecture, it was a multidimensional map of time, space, and belief. What's even more remarkable is how the Maya achieved this without metal tools, wheels, or modern measuring devices. They calibrated the pyramid's angles to their latitude, ensuring the equinox effect would be visible only from specific vantage points, a feat requiring generations of astronomical observation. Nearby structures like the Caracol Observatory confirm their systematic study of Venus, whose movements they tracked with an error margin of just 2 hours over 500 years. For the Maya, astronomy wasn't a separate science. It was woven into daily life, dictating planting cycles, coronation dates, and even warfare. Kukulkan's serpent wasn't merely a symbol, it was a celestial alarm clock, signaling when to plant maize or hold ceremonies. Yet the pyramid's true purpose might never be fully unraveled. Some scholars argue it served as an initiation site, where elites underwent trials mirroring the serpent's journey between worlds. Others note its alignment with cenotes' sacred sinkholes, suggesting an underground water network was part of its spiritual design. The most tantalizing theory comes from LiDAR scans revealing a hidden pyramid within El Castillo, built centuries earlier. Like Russian nesting dolls, each layer might represent a refinement of knowledge, a physical record of the Maya's evolving dialogue with the cosmos. Standing on the plaza during an equinox, watching shadows animate stone, you realize El Castillo's genius isn't just in its precision, it's in its poetry. The Maya didn't merely track the sun, they dramatized its relationship with Earth, turning celestial mechanics into sacred theater. And in that fleeting descent of light, even modern visitors feel the weight of a question. Were they honoring a god, or demonstrating that humanity itself could touch the divine through stone and shadow? Rising above the jungle canopy at Chichen Itza, the Caracol stands as one of history's most sophisticated celestial observatories, a stone telescope built not for stargazing but for warfare. This peculiar round tower, its name meaning snail for the spiral staircase inside, doesn't resemble typical Mayan architecture. Its narrow, slit-like windows pierce the walls at precise angles, framing specific points on the horizon where Venus would appear during its most significant cycles. For the Maya, Venus wasn't just a bright point of light, it was the god Kukulkan's celestial avatar, a harbinger of both agricultural fortune and military bloodshed. Their entire warfare strategy revolved around this planet's movements, with kings timing battles to coincide with its appearances as morning or evening star. The precision behind the Caracol's design is staggering. 2 key windows align with Venus's northernmost and southernmost rising positions over an 8-year cycle, while another marks the summer solstice sunrise. Inside, priests would have tracked the planet's retrograde motion, the illusion of it moving backward through these stone apertures, using the observations to update their sacred Dresden Codex, which contains Venus tables accurate to within 2 hours over 5 centuries. Imagine the scene, scribes etching calculations by torchlight as shadows crept across the chamber floor, transforming celestial patterns into battle plans. This wasn't just astronomy, it was geopolitical strategy written in the stars. Why Venus? The answer lies in its erratic brilliance. Unlike the steady sun or predictable moon, Venus appears and vanishes for months at a time, only to reappear in dramatic fashion. The Maya saw this as divine theater, interpreting its cycles as the god Kukulkan descending to meddle in human affairs. When Venus rose as the morning star, it signaled time for raids, a celestial green light for warriors. As the evening star, it warned against conflict, a cosmic red light. The Caracol's priests didn't merely observe these transitions, they weaponized them, advising rulers to attack when Venus was high and bright, ensuring their enemies would perceive the campaign as divinely sanctioned. But the observatory's genius extends beyond warfare. The same Venus cycles dictated agricultural rituals, trade expeditions, and coronation dates. The Maya believed the planet's movements influenced rainfall windows on the Caracol's lower level align with sunset positions during the rainy season's onset. This duality, destroyer and life-giver, made Venus the ultimate celestial diplomat, governing both the spear and the sowing stick. What's most haunting is how the Caracol's legacy endures. Modern archaeologists using laser scans discovered hidden alignment marks beneath its plaster, proving the Maya adjusted the structure over generations as their understanding of Venus's orbit deepened. The tower isn't just a monument, it's a palimpsest of celestial obsession, each modification a testament to humanity's eternal dance with the cosmos. And perhaps that's the real lesson of the Caracol. For the Maya, the sky wasn't just a clock or a map. It was a living, breathing adversary, one they studied, revered, and ultimately sought to conquer. High on the sun-baked cliffs of Fajoda but in Chaco Canyon, a silent celestial drama unfolds each solstice. 3 massive stone slabs slice the desert light into a razor-thin dagger that creeps across a carved spiral petroglyph below. This is no accident of erosion. The ancestral Pueblones positioned these slabs with such precision that the sun dagger strikes the center of the spiral at noon on the summer solstice, bisects it perfectly during the equinoxes, and grazes its outer edge at the winter solstice. In a landscape where water was scarce and survival precarious, tracking the sun's exact journey wasn't just science, it was a matter of life and death. What's astonishing is how they achieved this without metal tools or written records. The slabs weigh hundreds of pounds, yet were hauled up the treacherous butt and positioned at angles that account for both the sun's seasonal arc and the cliff's steep incline. The spiral itself, one of many petroglyphs at the site, functions like a celestial fingerprint, its concentric grooves marking not just solstices, but possibly the 18.6-year lunar cycle as well. Some researchers believe smaller spirals nearby track the moon's minor standstills, turning the entire panel into a multi-layered calendar etched in stone. But why invest such effort in a site so remote? Chaco Canyon was the hub of a vast cultural network, with roads stretching hundreds of miles to distant pueblos. The sun dagger may have served as a master calendar, synchronizing rituals and trade across the region. During solstices, the canyon's great houses monumental structures like Pueblo Bonito align with sunrise and sunset, suggesting the sun dagger was just one node in a larger astronomical web. The ancestral Pueblones didn't just observe the sky, they wove it into their architecture, their agriculture, and their very sense of time. The desert's harsh clarity made it an ideal observatory. With little light pollution or atmospheric distortion, the movements of sun, moon, and stars would have been starkly visible. Petroglyphs throughout the canyon depict supernovas and comet sightings, proving these sky watchers tracked transient events alongside cyclical ones. The sun dagger's location atop Fajada Butte, a place of spiritual significance, hints that its purpose transcended practicality. Perhaps the slicing light was believed to recharge the spiral with solar energy, a ritual recharge for the community below. Tragically, the sun dagger's precision was unintentionally destroyed in the 1980s when erosion accelerated by foot traffic shifted one of the slabs. Yet its legacy endures. Modern replicas prove the alignments were deliberate, while LiDAR scans reveal hidden petroglyphs that may hold further clues. Standing in Chaco Canyon at noon on the solstice, even without the dagger's light, you can feel the weight of that ancient wisdom, a reminder that in this stark landscape, the sky wasn't just a clock. It was a covenant written in sunlight and stone. On the windswept moors of Scotland's Isle of Lewis, the Callanish stones rise like frozen giants against the stormy sky, a silent congregation of ancient monoliths arranged in a haunting cruciform pattern. Unlike the solar alignments of Stonehenge or Newgrange, these stones whisper secrets of the moon's most elusive dance. Every 18.6 years, when the moon reaches its major standstill, the farthest point from the sun's path in its long celestial wobble, the lunar orb skims low along the horizon, perfectly framed by the stone's central avenue. At this moment, the stones seem to come alive, their shadows stretching like spectral fingers across the peat, as if tracing the moon's slow, deliberate footsteps. Local legends speak of a shining one who walks among the stones during these lunar events, a being of light said to bring wisdom or warnings, but the truth behind these myths may lie in the stone's meticulous engineering. The main axis of the Callanish cross aligns with the southern moonrise during its major standstill, while the surrounding circle and radiating arms mark the moon's minor standstill positions, a dual calendar system carved into the landscape. Imagine Bronze Age priests or priestesses gathering here on frigid nights, watching the moon's silver light slide between the stones like a key turning in a celestial lock. This wasn't just observation, it was prophecy in stone, a way to predict eclipses, tidal shifts, and perhaps even the cyclical return of harsh winters. The stone's isolation deepens their mystery. Unlike many megalithic sites built near settlements, Callanish stands alone on a barren peninsula, battered by North Atlantic winds. Reaching it would have been a pilgrimage, a journey demanding effort and intent. Some researchers believe the site's U-shaped enclosures and cairns were designed to amplify sound, turning chants or drumbeats into echoing vibrations that mimic the moon's perceived influence on earthly rhythms. Others point to the nearby Loch Rogue, whose still waters might have reflected lunar alignments, doubling the spectacle for rituals. What's most striking is how the stones embody a duality of science and spirit. The precision of their alignments proves advanced lunar knowledge, yet their arrangement, like a skeletal hand reaching from the earth, suggests a deeper, symbolic language. The central monolith, towering over 15 feet tall, leans slightly as if straining toward the sky, while the surrounding stones tilt inward, creating a sense of motion frozen in time. Were they meant to draw down the moon's power, as some neo-pagans believe today, or did they serve as a classroom where elders taught the next generation to read the sky's slow, sacred cycles? Modern astronomers confirm the site's accuracy. The moon still obeys the stone's ancient geometry, sliding into alignment like clockwork across millennia. Yet Callanish refuses to be fully decoded. Its Gaelic name, Callanize, hints at a lost meaning, some tie to the sky now forgotten. Standing there under a winter moon, watching silver light pool in the crevices of lichen-crusted rock, you feel the weight of that unanswered question. Were these stones a calculator, a temple, or a bridge to something beyond our understanding? The answer, like the moon itself, remains just out of reach, a glimmering mystery etched in Louisian gneiss, waiting for the next turn of the celestial wheel. The Temple of Karnak rises from the banks of the Nile like a stone hymn to the cosmos, a labyrinth of towering columns and hidden chambers where sunlight performs an ancient ritual every winter solstice. As dawn breaks on the shortest day of the year, a golden beam slips through the temple's grand entrance, sliding down the central axis like a celestial messenger. It travels half a mile through pillared halls, past obelisks carved with star maps, until it reaches the darkest heart of the complex, the sanctuary of Amun-Ra. There, for fleeting minutes, the light caresses the god's statue, as if recharging divinity itself. This isn't poetic coincidence. It's precise solar engineering, a marriage of architecture and astronomy that transformed stone into a sacred clock. What's staggering is how the Egyptians wove multiple layers of celestial knowledge into Karnak's blueprint. The temple's main axis doesn't just align with the solstice sunrise, it mirrors the Nile's flooding cycle, the lifeblood of their civilization. When Sirius, the brightest star, rose heliacally in July, its appearance heralded the annual inundation that fertilized their fields. Karnak's designers encoded this connection into the temple's orientation, ensuring the solstice light show coincided with preparations for planting. The walls themselves tell the story. Hieroglyphs depict pharaohs offering sheaves of grain to Amun-Ra as the Nile swelled, binding sky, river, and harvest into a single theological equation. The genius lies in the details. Karnak wasn't built in one campaign but expanded over 2,000 years by successive pharaohs. Yet despite centuries of additions, the solar alignment held firm, proof of an unbroken astronomical tradition passed down through generations. Hypostyle hall columns, thick as redwoods, are crowned with lotus and papyrus motifs symbolizing Upper and Lower Egypt, but their spacing also creates calculated light shafts that mark equinoxes. Even the temple's famed obelisks functioned as giant sundials. Their tapered shadows tracked hours across calibrated pavements, turning ritual spaces into open-air observatories. But why invest such effort in solar theatrics? For the Egyptians, this wasn't just symbolism, it was geopolitics. The pharaoh's claim to divinity hinged on demonstrating mastery over cosmic cycles. When priests orchestrated the solstice illumination, they weren't just honoring Amun-Ra, they were proving their king could summon the sun itself. The temple's outer walls reinforce this narrative, carved with scenes of pharaohs receiving the Ankh life from gods alongside star charts that mirrored the night sky during coronations. Karnak wasn't merely a place of worship, it was a stage for statecraft where astronomy legitimized power. Modern laser scans reveal even deeper sophistication. Beneath the temple, hidden corridors align with Vega and Orion's belt stars associated with Osiris, god of rebirth. Some researchers believe initiates underwent rituals timed to celestial events, emerging from underground chambers as the solstice light flooded the sanctuary, embodying the sun's cyclical rebirth. The temple's very name, Ipet Isut, the most select of places, hints at its role as a threshold where humans could touch the divine through celestial mechanics. Standing in Karnak's hypostyle hall today, dwarfed by columns painted with faded constellations, you can almost hear the echoes of ancient chants mixing with the whispers of priests tracking shadow lengths. This wasn't just architecture, it was alchemy, turning sunlight into legitimacy, stone into scripture, and the Nile's floods into proof of heaven's favor. In Karnak's silent stones, we find a civilization that didn't just watch the sky, but wove it into the fabric of their identity, leaving behind a puzzle where every alignment is a word in a lost language of light. Carved into the ceiling of a dimly lit chapel in the Temple of Hathor, the Dendera zodiac glows with secrets, a circular bas-relief that maps the heavens in a language of gods and stars. This 2,000-year-old masterpiece isn't just art, it's a celestial snapshot depicting constellations like Orion and Taurus alongside planets known to the ancient Egyptians. But look closer and the lines blur between mythology and science. Here, the bull of Taurus is also the goddess Hathor, while the lion of Leo morphs into the fierce Sekhmet. This isn't merely a star chart, it's a cosmic tapestry where astronomy and theology weave together in stone. What makes the Dendera zodiac revolutionary is its hybrid perspective. Unlike Greek or Babylonian zodiacs that separate celestial bodies from their myths, this chart embraces both. The ecliptic, the sun's apparent path, is shown as a ring held aloft by four goddesses, representing the pillars of the sky. Within this ring, the 36 Deccan stars, used to track nightly hours, orbit like a celestial clock. 5 planets known to the Egyptians, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, appear as wandering deities, their positions hinting at a sophisticated understanding of planetary motion. Some researchers argue the arrangement corresponds to an actual astronomical event, possibly a rare planetary alignment visible around 50 BC, suggesting the priests of Dendera didn't just record legends, they observed and calculated. The zodiac's most tantalizing feature is its depiction of eclipses. A serpent swallows a solar disk, a clear nod to the myth of Apep, the chaos snake who tries to devour the sun. Yet the positioning matches known eclipse patterns visible from Egypt during the Ptolemaic period. Was this a warning, a prophecy, or a scientific record? The temple's priests, who doubled as astronomers, likely saw no distinction. For them, an eclipse wasn't just a celestial event. It was a battle between order and chaos, with rituals required to ensure the sun's victory. The zodiac's lower panels reinforce this duality, showing Nile floods and harvests tied to specific star risings, proof that for the Egyptians, the sky wasn't separate from earthly life, but its divine blueprint. Controversy clings to the zodiac like desert sand. When Napoleon's expedition rediscovered it in the 1700s, scholars debated whether it was a religious allegory or an encrypted scientific treatise. Some even claimed it held traces of precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, knowledge supposedly lost to antiquity. Modern analysis suggests otherwise, yet the zodiac's precision remains undeniable. The constellation's positions reflect meticulous observation, while the inclusion of invisible Deccan stars that rise just before dawn proves the Egyptians tracked more than what the naked eye could easily see. Today, the original zodiac resides in the Louvre, its colors still vivid after millennia. But its true home was the temple's ceiling, where initiates once lay on their backs, tracing the paths of gods and stars alike. To stand beneath it would have been to witness a sacred truth, that the sky was not distant but intimate, a mirror of earthly cycles, a stage for divine drama, and a clockwork of mysteries waiting to be read by those who knew how to look. In Dendera's stone sky, the Egyptians left us not just a map but a challenge, to see the cosmos as they did, where every star was both a point of light and a whisper from the gods. Beneath the turquoise waters off the Greek island of Antikythera, a corroded lump of bronze lay hidden for 2,000 years until divers in 1901 hauled it up, unaware they'd recovered the ancient world's most staggering technological marvel. When archaeologists painstakingly chipped away the encrusted layers, they uncovered a labyrinth of interlocking gears, precisely calibrated dials, and inscriptions detailing celestial movements. This was the Antikythera Mechanism, a hand-powered device so advanced it wouldn't be matched until the mechanical clocks of the 14th century. Imagine a shoebox-sized machine that could predict solar eclipses down to the hour, track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games, and model the erratic paths of planets across the zodiac, all without electricity, without microchips, without any of the tools we associate with precision engineering. The mechanism's genius lies in its miniaturized cosmos. X-rays and 3D reconstructions reveal at least 30 finely toothed bronze gears working in concert, some with teeth cut at exact angles to account for celestial irregularities. One gear even mimics the moon's elliptical orbit, speeding up and slowing down to match its real-world wobble, a feature modern astronomers call anomalistic motion. The front face displayed a revolving zodiac dial and Egyptian calendar, while the back housed spiral dials predicting eclipses based on the ancient Babylonian Saros cycle. This wasn't just a calculator, it was a portable planetarium, a universe in miniature crafted with the precision of a master watchmaker. But who could have built such a device in the 1st century BC? The shipwreck's cargo included luxury goods from Rhodes, home to the legendary astronomer Hipparchus, who first documented the moon's orbital quirks. Some scholars believe the mechanism embodies his theories, possibly engineered by his followers. Others point to Corinth, where intricate clockwork automata were described in texts. What's undeniable is that this level of sophistication implies a lost tradition of Greek engineering, a school of thought that viewed the cosmos as a machine to be decoded and replicated. The real shock isn't just the mechanism's existence, but its isolation. No other devices like it have survived, suggesting such technology was rare, perhaps reserved for elite scholars or temples. Yet Cicero wrote of a similar machine brought to Rome by Archimedes, hinting these celestial computers might have been more widespread than we'll ever know. Their knowledge likely vanished in the collapse of the classical world, leaving later civilizations to reinvent clockwork centuries later. Today, the Antikythera Mechanism forces us to rewrite history. It's not just an artifact, it's a shattered mirror reflecting a Hellenistic world far more technologically daring than we'd imagined. Holding its fragments, we're left to wonder, was this the pinnacle of an ancient scientific revolution, or merely a glimpse of a golden age whose other wonders now lie forever lost beneath the sea? Stretching across Peru's arid Pampa Colorado, the Nazca Lines defy logic. Enormous geoglyphs so vast, their full scale only reveals itself from the air. Etched into the desert floor between 500 BC and 500 AD, these precise geometric shapes and sprawling animal figures include a hummingbird with wings spanning over 200 feet, a spider with anatomically correct leg joints, and a spiral-tailed monkey that seems to dance across the dust. But their grandeur isn't the only mystery. Several lines align with the June solstice sunrise, while others point directly to star clusters like the Pleiades during their heliacal rising, the moment they first become visible after being hidden by the sun's glare. This isn't random scribbling, it's a desert canvas transformed into a celestial calendar, where earth and sky mirror each other with eerie precision. How did a culture without flight or advanced mathematics achieve such accuracy? The Nazca people used simple tools, wooden stakes and ropes, to plot these designs, removing the dark surface pebbles to expose lighter soil beneath. But their methods were anything but crude. Researchers have found small-scale versions of the geoglyphs on pottery and textiles, suggesting they first mapped the designs meticulously before scaling them up. Some lines form perfect triangles stretching miles without deviation, while curves maintain consistent radii, a feat requiring sophisticated understanding of geometry. Even more astonishing, the Nazca factored in perspective distortion, crafting figures that appear proportional only when viewed from specific vantage points in the nearby foothills. These weren't just doodles, they were engineered visions meant to be seen but by whom. Theories about their purpose span the spectrum from practical to profound. Some scholars argue the lines marked underground water sources, critical in this rainless desert. Others see ritual pathways where processions followed celestial alignments during solstice ceremonies. The most tantalizing hypothesis comes from archaeoastronomers who have discovered that certain animal figures correlate with constellations as the Nazca might have imagined them. The monkey, for instance, mirrors the shape of Ursa Major in the dry season when the Amazon's fruits ripened, a possible signal for trade expeditions. The hummingbird, whose wings align with solstice sunrises, coincides with the return of migratory birds, a natural calendar for planting, yet the line's sheer scale suggests something grander. The longest straight line runs 9 miles without wavering, a distance that would take hours to walk. Were these pilgrim routes guiding participants through sacred landscapes under the watch of celestial deities? Or were they, as some controversially propose, meant for the gods themselves, messages inscribed into the earth, visible only from the heavens? The Nazca's own mythology offers clues. Their ceramics depict flying beings, possibly shamanic figures who believed they could traverse spiritual realms. Perhaps the lines served as conduits for these journeys, anchoring rituals that bridged the terrestrial and cosmic. Modern technology has only deepened the enigma. Satellite imagery reveals previously hidden geoglyphs, including a sprawling orca and a sinuous serpent, while drone surveys show how some lines converge at ceremonial mounds. But the desert guards its secrets fiercely. Wind erosion and human encroachment threaten these fragile markings, reminding us how little time we may have left to decode their meaning. Standing on a Nazca hilltop at dawn, watching the solstice light trace the ancient pathways, one thing becomes clear: these lines aren't just art or astronomy. They're a language without a key, a prayer written in the earth's skin, waiting for us to learn how to read it. The conical tower of Great Zimbabwe rises like a silent sentinel over the ruins of southern Africa's most magnificent stone city, a structure that whispers secrets of celestial wisdom long overlooked by history. This 30-foot-tall tower, its smooth walls curving inward like a giant granary, holds a secret etched into its very alignment. It points precisely toward the heliacal rising of the Pleiades, the brilliant star cluster known to the Shona people as Karamusi, the sign of the rains. When these stars first appeared above the eastern horizon just before dawn, it signaled the time to prepare the fields, a celestial alarm clock woven into the fabric of daily life. But this was no crude marker. The tower's positioning, alongside surrounding stone platforms and passageways, forms a sophisticated observational network, proof that Africa's astronomical traditions rivaled those of Europe or the Americas. What makes Great Zimbabwe's celestial knowledge even more remarkable is the context. Built between the 11th and 15th centuries, this sprawling city of dry stone walls and terraced platforms thrived without written records or outside influence. Yet its builders tracked the Pleiades with precision, understanding that their appearance coincided with the onset of seasonal rains critical for agriculture. The tower's alignment isn't approximate, it's mathematically deliberate, accounting for the slight annual shift in star positions due to Earth's axial precession. This implies generations of meticulous observation, with knowledge passed orally through Ngangas, spiritual leaders who doubled as astronomers. Imagine the scene: elders gathering on stone platforms at dawn, watching the horizon for that first glimmer of Karamusi, then sounding horns to announce the planting season. The city itself is a testament to this harmony between earth and sky. The great enclosure's massive walls, some 30 feet high and 16 feet thick, curve in patterns mirroring the crescent moon, a symbol of fertility in Shona cosmology. Nearby, a series of monoliths topped with carved birds, their beaks angled skyward, may have served as additional star markers. These Zimbabwe birds, now national emblems, aren't just art. They're potential celestial guides, their positions corresponding to key stars in the southern African night sky. Even the city's layout reflects cosmic order, with the conical tower acting as a focal point for solstice observations, its shadow touching specific stones at midday during the dry season. Yet the real mystery lies in how this knowledge was preserved. Without written records, the Shona relied on oral traditions and physical mnemonics, stone arrangements, songs, and rituals to encode astronomical data. The tower's unique architecture may have functioned as a teaching tool, its shape echoing the stacked stones used to demonstrate star paths to initiates. Nearby, soapstone bowls with geometric patterns have been found, some incised with lines that match the angles of celestial events. These weren't mere decorations, they were portable star maps, classroom aids for a society that saw no division between science and spirituality. The tragedy is how long this legacy was dismissed. Early European explorers, refusing to believe Africans could engineer such feats, attributed Great Zimbabwe to mythical foreign rulers. Only in the 20th century did archaeology confirm its indigenous origins, and with that, the profound depth of African astronomical heritage. Today, as modern astronomers rediscover the precision of Pleiades tracking at the site, we're left to wonder what other celestial secrets still hide in the stones. The conical tower isn't just a relic, it's a challenge to look beyond Eurocentric narratives and recognize that the night sky was studied, revered, and decoded on every continent by cultures who saw in its patterns not just survival but meaning. And in the silent alignment of tower and stars, we hear a truth too long ignored. The cosmos spoke here too, and its listeners built a city in reply. Rising from the jungles of central Java like a stone lotus, Borobudur Temple isn't just a monument, it's a three-dimensional map of the Buddhist cosmos carved from volcanic rock. This colossal stupa, built in the 9th century, ascends in 9 stacked platforms, each representing a stage of spiritual awakening. But step back and you'll notice something extraordinary. The entire structure forms a giant mandala, its concentric squares and circular terraces mirroring the universe as described in ancient Vajrayana texts. The temple isn't merely inspired by celestial order, it embodies it with every stairway, statue, and relief positioned according to cosmic principles. Climbing Borobudur is akin to ascending through layers of existence. The lower levels depict the earthly realm through intricate bas-reliefs showing scenes of desire and suffering, their narratives spiraling clockwise like the movement of the sun. As pilgrims rise, the carvings shift, celestial beings replace mortal figures, and the stories transition to Buddha's previous lives, culminating in the upper terraces where 72 perforated stupas house silent, meditating Buddhas. At the summit, a massive central stupa stands empty, symbolizing Nirvana's ineffable void. This architectural journey mirrors the Buddhist path from illusion to enlightenment, but it also reflects something more, a precise astronomical alignment. The temple's cardinal entrances align with sunrise and sunset during the equinoxes, while certain reliefs may encode lunar cycles used to calculate Vesak, the celebration of Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and death. What's truly staggering is how Borobudur's design integrates sacred geometry with celestial observation. The ratio between its base and height mirrors the proportions of the universe described in Buddhist cosmology. The 3 main tiers representing the realms of desire, form, and formlessness correspond to the 3 phases of the moon, linking spiritual progression to celestial rhythms. Even the number of statues isn't arbitrary. 504 Buddhas populate the niches, a number significant in both Javanese numerology and ancient Indian astronomy. Some researchers suggest the temple's 5 square terraces mirror the 5 classical planets visible to the naked eye, while its circular platforms evoke the orbits of celestial bodies. The temple's connection to the stars may run even deeper. Local legends speak of Borobudur as a place where priests could read the heavens, using shadow patterns cast by the stupas to predict solstices. Modern surveys reveal that sight lines from the upper platforms frame specific stars in the Javanese night sky, including Antares and Vega, which held importance in agricultural and ceremonial calendars. The temple's alignment with nearby Mount Marapi, an active volcano considered a sacred axis mundi, further binds Earth to sky, a terrestrial echo of the cosmic mountain at the center of Buddhist and Hindu cosmologies. Yet Borobudur's greatest mystery isn't just how it maps the cosmos, but why it was abandoned for centuries, swallowed by jungle until the 19th century. Some speculate volcanic eruptions obscured its celestial alignments, rendering it inactive as an observatory. Others believe shifts in religious power redirected focus elsewhere. Whatever the reason, the temple's rediscovery offers a powerful reminder. Here was a civilization that saw no divide between the spiritual and the scientific, where architecture became a bridge between human aspiration and the infinite. To walk Borobudur's corridors today is to traverse a universe in stone, one that still whispers its celestial secrets to those who know how to listen. The Avenue of the Dead cuts through Teotihuacan like a celestial river, its straight path stretching 2.5 miles beneath the looming pyramids of the sun and moon. But this wasn't just a grand thoroughfare, it was a carefully calibrated cosmic marker. On the night when the Pleiades star cluster reached its zenith directly overhead, the entire city became an earthly reflection of the heavens. The Avenue's alignment with this celestial event wasn't accidental. For the Teotihuacans, the Pleiades weren't merely stars, they were the mythical birthplace of creation, a cluster they called Chankillo, or the marketplace, where gods and ancestors gathered. What's astonishing is how precisely they mapped the sky onto their urban design. The Pyramid of the Sun, one of the largest structures in the ancient world, sits at a point where the Pleiades' zenith passage intersects with the Avenue's axis. During this event, the stars would appear to hover directly above the pyramid's apex, as if the stone structure was an anchor tethering the celestial realm to Earth. Nearby, the Pyramid of the Moon frames the cluster's setting position, creating a dynamic interplay between architecture and astronomy that transformed the entire city into a living observatory. But why this particular star cluster? The answer lies in both myth and agriculture. The Pleiades' zenith coincided with the beginning of the rainy season, a critical time for planting maize, the lifeblood of Mesoamerican civilizations. When these stars shone brightest, it signaled the moment to prepare the fields, linking celestial patterns to survival. Yet the reverence went deeper. The Teotihuacans believed the Pleiades were the gateway to the underworld, a place where souls traveled after death. Murals throughout the city depict star-eyed deities emerging from the cluster, suggesting it was seen as a portal between worlds. The city's layout reveals even more sophistication. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, adorned with carved heads of the celestial serpent Quetzalcoatl, aligns with the Pleiades rising during another key date, the day the sun passed directly overhead at noon, a rare event only possible near the equator. This double alignment, stars and sun, transformed Teotihuacan into a sacred clock, where 2 cosmic cycles converged in stone, modern laser scans have uncovered hidden tunnels beneath the pyramids, some filled with liquid mercury, possibly representing underground rivers mirroring the Milky Way. These discoveries suggest the Teotihuacans saw their city not just as a place, but as a microcosm of the universe where every structure echoed celestial order. Standing on the Avenue of the Dead under a clear night sky, you can almost feel their vision, a civilization that didn't just watch the stars, but built a metropolis to commune with them. Standing sentinel on the wind-scoured slopes of Easter Island, the Moai gaze inland with an eerie, unwavering focus except for a handful that break the pattern. These outliers face the sea, their hollow eyes fixed not on the living, but on the horizon where the stars rise and fall. Recent studies reveal something astonishing. Several of these statues align with the summer solstice sunrise or the heliacal rising of the Pleiades, just as they would have appeared centuries ago when the first Moai were carved. In a place so remote that its nearest neighbors are over 1,000 miles away, how did the Rapa Nui people develop such precise celestial knowledge, and why did they encode it in stone giants weighing up to 80 tons? The mystery deepens when you consider the island's isolation. With no neighboring cultures to share knowledge, the Rapa Nui had to decode the heavens entirely on their own. Yet their understanding was sophisticated. At the ceremonial village of Orongo, petroglyphs depict star clusters and comets, while certain ahu, the platforms supporting Moai, are positioned so that the statue's shadows strike specific points during equinoxes. The most compelling evidence lies at Ahu Akivi, where 7 Moai face the ocean, perfectly aligned with the sunset during the spring and autumn equinoxes. This isn't random placement, it's a deliberate act of celestial engineering, suggesting the statues weren't just ancestral portraits, they were intermediaries between earth and sky. But what drove this connection? For the Rapa Nui, the stars weren't just guides for navigation or agriculture, they were threads in a cosmological tapestry. Oral traditions speak of Hotu Mata, the island's legendary founder, who followed the Pleiades to reach these shores. The cluster's appearance in June marked the start of the Tangata Monu Birdman competition, a ritual that determined political leadership. By aligning Moai with these celestial events, the Rapa Nui may have been anchoring their society to cosmic cycles, ensuring continuity between the living, the dead, and the heavens. The statue's construction only adds to the enigma. Quarried from the volcanic slopes of Rono Raraku, the Moai were transported miles across rugged terrain without wheels or large animals, a feat that still puzzles archaeologists. Some researchers propose the process itself was astronomically timed, with sledges moving statues during specific lunar phases when the ground was slick with dew. Others note that the quarry's orientation allows sunlight to illuminate certain Moai faces during solstices, as if blessing them during their creation. Even in ruin, the fallen Moai tell a story. Their collapse patterns often follow east-west axes, hinting at a deliberate celestial order now lost to time. The most haunting question isn't how they achieved these alignments, but why they stopped. As deforestation and ecological collapse strained the island's resources, Moai production ceased abruptly. Did the stars lose their meaning, or did the people simply lose the capacity to read them? Today, modern Rapa Nui are reviving this celestial legacy, using traditional star lore to navigate canoes and reinterpreting petroglyphs as ancestral star maps. The Moai's silent gaze endures a reminder that even in isolation, humanity's urge to map the heavens is universal. Whether guardians, calendars, or both, these stone giants stand as monuments to a culture that saw the sky not as a void but as a mirror. The pyramids of Giza stand frozen in time, their perfect geometry slicing through the desert haze, but their true secret lies not in their towering presence, but in what they point toward. The three great pyramids of Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure don't just dominate the horizon. They mirror the stars of Orion's belt with uncanny precision, their layout matching the constellation's three brightest stars to within a fraction of a degree. This isn't poetic coincidence. When superimposed, the pyramid's positions align so perfectly with Orion's belt that the Nile River mirrors the Milky Way in this cosmic blueprint, suggesting the entire Giza plateau was designed as a terrestrial echo of the heavens. But the celestial connections don't stop there. The Great Sphinx, crouched eternally at the pyramid's feet, gazes due east, directly at the spot where the sun rises on the spring equinox. On that sacred morning, the sun appears precisely between the paws of the Sphinx, as if the lion-bodied guardian is presenting the solar disk to the world. This alignment isn't just symbolic. It's a feat of engineering that required exact knowledge of Earth's axial tilt and the sun's annual journey. Even the pyramid's air shafts, once dismissed as mere ventilation channels, point directly at key stars Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, and Orion's belt, again hinting at a deeper, ritual purpose tied to the pharaoh's soul ascending to join these celestial beings. The controversy lies in how the ancient Egyptians could have achieved such accuracy without modern tools. Mainstream archaeology suggests they used simple sighting methods, tracking stars with Merkit's primitive plumb lines and aligning structures to the cardinal directions via the North Star. But some researchers point to anomalies that defy easy explanation. The pyramid's corners are aligned to true north with an error margin of just 3/60ths of a degree, a precision unmatched until the invention of the telescope. The shafts targeting Sirius and Orion would have required knowledge of stellar precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that shifts star positions over millennia. This motion wasn't formally documented until Hipparchus in the 2nd century BC, yet the pyramid's alignments suggest the Egyptians accounted for it thousands of years earlier. Alternative theories abound. Could the pyramids preserve knowledge from a lost civilization, as some fringe scholars propose, or were the Egyptians privy to an advanced astronomical tradition later forgotten? The Orion correlation theory, popularized by Robert Bovell, argues the pyramid's layout reflects the sky as it appeared in 10,500 BC, a date far older than conventional timelines allow. Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss this as cherry-picked data, but the debate underscores a deeper truth. The pyramid's builders saw no divide between architecture and astronomy. For them, stone was a language to converse with the cosmos, and every alignment was a prayer in geometric form. Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the pyramid texts, the oldest known religious writings in the world. Inscribed inside later pyramids, these spells describe the pharaoh's soul joining Orion in the afterlife, becoming an eternal star. The pyramids then weren't just tombs, they were launch pads for celestial immortality, their angles calculated to guide the king's spirit through the starry gateways of the sky. Modern laser scans reveal hidden chambers and undiscovered passages, suggesting we've only begun to decode their secrets. Standing in the shadow of these monuments, you're left with a humbling realization. The pyramids don't just challenge our understanding of ancient technology, they challenge our arrogance. In an age before satellites and supercomputers, a civilization looked up, mapped the heavens, and carved that knowledge into limestone and granite. Whether their methods were simple or sublime, the result endures, a message in stone, written across millennia, waiting for us to fully decipher its celestial code. Perched atop a fortified hill in central Mexico, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent at Xochicalco isn't just another pyramid, it's a stone symphony of celestial mathematics. Built between 700 and 900 AD, this intricately carved structure encodes the movements of both the Sun and Venus with jaw-dropping precision. Its staircases align with the solstice sunrises, while its sculpted panels track Venus's 8-year cycle, a dual calibration that reveals how deeply Mesoamerican cultures wove astronomy into their sacred architecture. Walk around the pyramid's base and you'll notice something extraordinary. The feathered serpent sculptures undulating along the walls aren't mere decoration. Each serpent's body is studded with star-like dots arranged in patterns that mirror Venus's positions during its morning and evening star phases. The temple's designers didn't just carve myths, they etched a celestial calendar into stone. On the spring equinox, sunlight strikes a specific serpent's head at dawn, while during Venus's most dramatic appearances, shadow play animates the carvings, making the serpent seem to slither across the pyramid's face. This isn't just symbolism, it's sacred mechanics, a fusion of art and science designed to bring the cosmos to life. The real genius lies in how Xochicalco's builders merged two separate celestial systems. Solar alignments governed agriculture, marking planting and harvest times, while Venus associated with the god Quetzalcoatl dictated warfare and royal ceremonies. The temple's western staircase aligns with the sunset during the zenith passage when the sun stands directly overhead, a rare event only observable in the tropics. Meanwhile, hidden sightlines from the temple's summit frame Venus's northernmost rising point, proving the builders tracked the planet's complex retrograde motion. How did they reconcile these cycles? The answer might lie in the temple's layered construction. Archaeologists have found earlier structures beneath the current pyramid, suggesting generations of refinement as astronomical knowledge deepened. Xochicalco's sophistication becomes even clearer when compared to its contemporaries. Unlike Teotihuacan's broad celestial axes or the Maya's precise Venus tables, this site blends both traditions, reflecting its role as a crossroads of Mesoamerican knowledge. The pyramid's corners mirror the four cardinal directions, yet its curves echo the serpentine path of Venus, a geometric marriage of linear and cyclical time. Even the temple's acoustics play a role. A clap at the base produces an echo that mimics the chirp of the Quetzal bird, Quetzalcoatl's sacred avatar, turning sound into another layer of celestial language. What's truly humbling is realizing this precision was achieved without telescopes or written records. The builders likely used horizon markers, natural peaks, or artificial posts to track celestial movements over decades. Some researchers believe the temple's murals, now faded, once held painted star maps guiding priests in their observations. The pyramid's alignment with nearby Cerro de la Bola, a spherical hill used as a natural observatory, suggests the entire landscape was part of the calculation. Today, Xochicalco's stones still whisper their secrets. On quiet mornings, when the first light slides down the pyramid steps, you can almost hear the echo of ancient astronomers chanting the days until Venus would next appear. This wasn't just a temple, it was a classroom, a clock, and a covenant with the heavens, proving that for these builders, the sky wasn't something to watch. It was something to converse with, in a language written in sunlight and stone. After exploring 28 astonishing prehistoric observatories, each revealing humanity's ancient dialogue with the cosmos, we're left with a tantalizing question: where is the 29th? Unlike the others, this one remains a ghost, its existence hinted at but not yet confirmed. Could it lie submerged beneath rising seas, like the lost settlements of Doggerland, where early astronomers might have tracked the stars before glacial melt swallowed their world? Or does it wait deep in the Amazon, its stone alignments choked by vines, hidden beneath a green canopy so dense that even modern LiDAR scans have yet to reveal its contours? The hunt for this missing observatory isn't just about completing a list, it's about filling a gap in our understanding of how widespread and interconnected ancient astronomy truly was. Consider the possibility that the 29th site might not even be on land. Recent discoveries like Japan's Yonaguni Monument, a controversial underwater structure with eerily precise terraces, suggest that coastal or island civilizations could have built celestial markers now lost to the ocean. If so, their knowledge of tides and star paths might have been far more advanced than we've credited. Then there's the chance that the 29th observatory hasn't been recognized for what it is. Ethiopia's Tia Stelae, for instance, were long considered mere grave markers until researchers noticed their alignment with Sirius, the star sacred to many African cultures. How many other standing stones or earthworks, dismissed as ritual sites or random ruins, might secretly encode celestial knowledge? The answer could lie in plain sight, waiting for someone to piece together the patterns. What makes this search so electrifying is the technology now at our fingertips. Ground-penetrating radar, AI-assisted satellite imaging, and even crowdsourced archaeology are rewriting the rules of discovery. In Peru, drones exposed the sprawling Nazca Lines. In Cambodia, LiDAR revealed entire cities beneath jungle canopies. The tools exist to find the 29th observatory if we ask the right questions. But perhaps the most thrilling possibility is that the 29th site hasn't been built yet. Indigenous cultures from Australia to North America still practice celestial traditions, creating new markers to teach the next generation. In this light, the search isn't just about the past, it's about the living thread of human curiosity, stretching from those first stargazers to the astronomers of tomorrow. Whether buried, drowned, or still rising, the 29th observatory reminds us that the sky's secrets are never fully uncovered. There's always another stone, another alignment, another story waiting to be told. The more we study these ancient observatories, the clearer it becomes their builders didn't just track celestial events, they lived in constant dialogue with the cosmos. Unlike modern astronomy, which often reduces the universe to equations and light years, these cultures saw the sky as a breathing entity, its rhythms woven into the fabric of daily life. Take the Maya, who didn't merely calculate Venus's cycles, they timed wars and coronations to its movements, believing the planet's retrograde dance held divine messages. Or consider the builders of Newgrange, who designed their tomb to flood with solstice light, not just as a calendar, but as a promise that darkness would always give way to renewal. This wasn't science divorced from spirituality. It was a unified vision of existence, where every eclipse and equinox carried layers of agricultural, communal, and sacred meaning. What's startling is how much these ancient astronomers achieved with so little. Without telescopes, without calculus, they mapped planetary motions with precision that sometimes rivals our own. The Nebra Sky Disk's golden arcs mark solstice sunsets to within a degree of accuracy, while the Antikythera Mechanism's gears predicted eclipses centuries in advance. But their true genius lay in their methods, tools carved from bone or stone, observations passed down through oral traditions, knowledge encoded in myths and murals. They didn't just observe the stars, they embedded them into stories, turning abstract patterns into narratives that even children could remember. The Dogon people of Mali, for instance, preserved knowledge of Sirius's invisible companion star for generations without written records, a feat that baffled modern astronomers when it was first documented. This holistic approach reveals a fundamental difference in perspective. Where we see cold, empty space, they saw a web of relationships. The Hopewell earthworks in Ohio mirror the moon's 18-6-year cycle, not just for practicality, but because they believed lunar rhythms governed the fertility of their crops. The Inca's Intihuatana stone didn't merely mark solstices, it tethered the sun, a ritual act to ensure its return. These cultures understood something we've largely forgotten. that astronomy isn't just about measurement, but about meaning. Their observatories weren't built in isolation. They were nodes in a living network that connected harvests to heliacal risings, kings to constellations, life to the infinite. Perhaps the most humbling lesson lies in their long-term thinking. Many of these sites, like the Callanish stones or Chankillo's solar towers, were used for centuries, even millennia. Generations added to them, refined their alignments, and passed down their secrets. This wasn't just patience, it was a recognition that celestial knowledge transcended individual lifespans. In an age where our technology becomes obsolete within years, their monuments endure as reminders that some truths unfold across scales we've stopped considering. The challenge they leave us isn't just to admire their precision, but to reclaim their reverence. Modern astrophysics has unveiled galaxies beyond their wildest dreams, yet we've lost the intimacy they had with the night sky. Light pollution obscures all but the brightest stars from half the world's population, while screens replace constellations with algorithms. But the stones still stand, whispering that the cosmos isn't just something to study, it's something to belong to. In their alignment charts and shadow plays, we find an invitation to look up not just with telescopes, but with wonder, remembering that every equation we write is part of a story older than writing itself. The question isn't whether they knew more than we do, it's whether we've lost something vital in how we know. From Stonehenge to Chankillo, these 29 prehistoric observatories stand as silent witnesses to humanity's eternal dance with the cosmos. They weren't just structures, they were conversations with the universe, carved in stone and aligned to the rhythms of the heavens. What's remarkable isn't just their precision, but their universality. Cultures separated by oceans and centuries, from the windswept plains of Europe to the jungles of Peru, all turned their gaze upward, seeking patterns in the stars. The Maya tracked Venus to wage wars, the builders of Newgrange chased the solstice sun to honor their dead, and the creators of Chankillo turned a desert ridge into a solar calendar. Though their methods and myths differed, their purpose was the same: to find meaning in the celestial ballet above them. These sites challenge our assumptions about so-called primitive societies. Without satellites or supercomputers, they mapped planetary movements with jaw-dropping accuracy. The Nebra Sky Disk's golden arcs still mark solstice sunsets within a single degree of error. The Antikythera Mechanism's gears predicted eclipses centuries in advance, but their genius wasn't just technical, it was philosophical. They didn't separate science from spirituality. To them, an eclipse wasn't just a shadow crossing the moon. It was a dragon devouring the light, a cosmic battle demanding ritual and reverence. Their observatories weren't cold laboratories, they were temples where the stars were worshipped as gods, teachers, and timekeepers. The deeper we dig into these sites, the more questions they raise. How did the builders of Göbekli Tepe carve constellations into stone 12,000 years ago, long before agriculture or written language? Why do the same lunar alignments appear in Scotland's Callanish stones and Ohio's Hopewell earthworks, despite the ocean between them? Some alignments, like those at Angkor Wat, seem to encode the 26,000-year precession of the equinoxes, a cycle no single civilization could have observed in full. Did they inherit fragments of knowledge from an even older source, now lost to time? Or did the sky itself whisper the same secrets to every culture that learned to listen? Perhaps the most humbling lesson lies in what we've forgotten. Modern astronomy can chart galaxies billions of light years away, yet most of us couldn't navigate by the stars or predict the solstice without a smartphone. These ancient builders, though lacking our tools, possessed something we've misplaced: an intimate, lived relationship with the cosmos. They didn't just study the heavens, they wove them into their crops, their ceremonies, their very sense of time. When the solstice light struck the altar at Newgrange or the serpent slithered down El Castillo's steps, it wasn't just a celestial event, it was a covenant between earth and sky. The mystery of the 29th observatory lingers like an unfinished sentence. Could it be submerged beneath rising seas like the lost settlements of Dagger? Or hidden in plain sight, its true purpose overlooked? The search isn't just about adding to a list, it's about reclaiming a lost chapter of human curiosity. Every alignment we decode, every petroglyph we decipher, is a reminder that the urge to map the stars is written into our DNA. These stones don't just point to the past, they beckon us toward the future, asking what monuments we'll leave for the next generation of sky watchers. So the next time you stand beneath a starry sky, remember, you're part of an unbroken chain stretching back to the first person who ever looked up and wondered. The same constellations that guided the Maya and the Maori still shine overhead, waiting to tell their stories. If this journey through ancient astronomy has sparked your curiosity, don't let it end here. Hit like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments, because the greatest observatory of all might just be the one we build together, stone by stone, question by question, under the same infinite sky that inspired our